Jagrudev, before we conclude, I would like to circle back to the importance of the emotional and psychological healing that these practices can offer. In the new Pope, both Pope Pius XIII and Pope John Paul III grapple with deep emotional and psychological wounds, whether it's Pius XIII's sense of isolation and fear of inadequacy, or Pope John Paul III's struggle to balance his own desires with his papal responsibilities. How do the teachings of His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji address these kinds of wounds, particularly when it comes to deep emotional scars and feelings of loneliness or worthlessness? Emotional and psychological wounds are some of the most challenging obstacles to spiritual and personal growth. Both popes in the new pope embody the human condition filled with internal conflict, vulnerability, and sometimes a sense of loneliness that comes from the immense weight of their responsibilities. These emotional wounds often manifest as feelings of inadequacy, fear, or unworthiness, which can severely affect one's ability to lead with clarity and compassion. His Holiness Gurudev Shri Ravi Shankarji's teachings focus deeply on emotional healing. Practices like Sudarshan Kriya and meditation are designed not only to calm the mind but also to cleanse the emotional body. Sudarshan Kriya specifically helps release deep seated emotions like fear, guilt, and sadness. The rhythmic breathing patterns help release emotional blockages stored in the body, often from past experiences, allowing individuals to confront and heal old wounds. For both popes, engaging in Sudarshan Kriya would have been transformative. It helps release the pent up emotions, which in the case of Pius XIII would allow him to heal his deep sense of isolation and self doubt. John Paul III, who is under constant pressure to perform and maintain control, could use these practices to let go of his fear of inadequacy and restore his sense of purpose, grounded not in external validation, but in his connection to his higher self and the divine. In addition to Sudarshan Kriya, practices like pranayama and Gayatri Japa promote emotional stability. Gayatri Japa, in particular, helps cultivate a sense of inner peace and emotional clarity, which would be vital for someone like Pope Pius XIII, who seems to struggle with navigating the intense emotional challenges of his position. Repeating the Gayatri Mantra can align the practitioner with divine wisdom and understanding, providing the emotional strength needed to heal wounds and face the future with renewed courage. In a broader sense, sadhana or spiritual practice fosters self compassion. It helps individuals recognize that at the core of their being, they are divine and whole despite any external circumstances or perceived flaws. This is one of the most powerful teachings in Gurudev's wisdom, that we are not defined by our weaknesses or mistakes but by our intrinsic divine nature. A consistent spiritual practice helps peel away the layers of doubt and fear, revealing a deep sense of inner peace, self worth, and clarity. It's remarkable how these practices create a space for healing both emotionally and spiritually by reconnecting the individual with their true essence. In the case of the Vatican and the Pope's leadership, these practices could serve as a vital tool, not just for personal healing, but for the healing of the institution itself. How can these teachings promote collective healing and harmony within institutions, especially those as deeply rooted and influential as the church? That's an excellent point. Healing on a collective level is just as important as individual healing. And it begins with the leader. When a leader heals and transforms themselves to practices like sadhana, they are able to infuse the organization they lead with a new energy, a higher vibration of peace, harmony, and compassion. In the new Pope, the Vatican is an institution that, while outwardly powerful, is internally torn by fear, past struggles, and the weight of its history. The leadership's internal state directly affects the energy of the institution. If the leaders of the Vatican or any institution were to integrate spiritual practices like Sudarshan Kriya, Pranayama, and Gayatri Japa, it would not only heal them but also the collective. The energy of a spiritual leader who is rooted in peace and wisdom can permeate the entire organization, bringing balance and harmony to the systems in place. When a leader is emotionally grounded and aligned with the higher principles, the collective follows suit. For example, in an organization like the Vatican, which holds a significant influence over the lives of millions, leaders who embrace these tools would be able to make decisions that are not clouded by personal ambition or external pressure. They would be able to bring people together, heal divisions, and serve the greater good. These practices would help to solve fear based thinking within the institution, replacing it with a culture of cooperation, love, and mutual respect. In the case of Pope Pius XIII, if he had embraced these practices, his leadership could have been more transformative. Instead of leading from a place of fear and isolation, he could have led from a space of spiritual openness and unity. His emotional healing would have extended to the people he served, creating a ripple effect of compassion and understanding throughout the Vatican. Similarly, sadhana can promote collective healing within any institution when employees, community members, or leaders practice meditation, prayer, or breathing techniques together. The collective energy shifts. It's like creating an atmosphere where people are more connected to their higher selves through nature. This creates a space where cooperation, peace, and shared purpose thrive. Even in the most rigid or hierarchical institutions, spiritual practice can foster a culture of unity, healing, and harmony. It's inspiring to think about how these practices can create a ripple effect that transforms both the individual and the collective. It seems like a spiritual shift in leadership could lead to a much needed evolution in the way institutions function more compassionately, more wisely, and with a greater sense of shared purpose. Before we conclude, I would like to ask you one last question. Given the depth and richness of the teachings we have discussed, what would you say is the most important takeaway for someone who is watching the new Pope and feels inspired by the Pope's journeys, yet is uncertain about how to apply these spiritual practices in their own life? The most important takeaway is that the journey of self discovery and healing is a universal one. Whether you are in a position of power or living an ordinary life, every individual can benefit from their practices, these practices. Sadhana, whether it's through Sudarshan Kriya, Pranayama, Gayatri Japa, or simply taking moments to reflect and meditate, is a powerful way to reconnect with your true self. If someone is watching the new Pope and feeling inspired by the character's struggles, I would say it's not about being perfect or achieving any kind of lofty status. It's about gradually integrating these practices into your life to create space for healing, clarity, and inner peace. Start small, perhaps by incorporating a few minutes of meditation or pranayama into your daily routine. Over time, you will begin to notice the profound impact these practices have on your emotional, mental, and spiritual well being. The key is consistency and patience. These practices are not quick fixes, but they are incredibly transformative over time. As you progress, you will find yourself less attached to external validation, more in tune with your purpose, and more equipped to face challenges with equanimity. Just as Pope Pius XIII and Pope John Paul III were struggling with internal wounds and power dynamics, you too will face difficulties, but with these practices, you can learn to navigate them with greater clarity, compassion, and wisdom. Lastly, always remember that true leadership, whether in the church, or in a business, or within a family, comes from a place of inner peace and wisdom. The practices of sadhana give you the tools to cultivate that peace and wisdom within yourself, allowing you to lead a life and live from a place of love, authenticity, and service. Thank you so much for your profound insights. I think we have covered so much ground today, from personal healing to collective transformation, all through the lens of ancient wisdom and modern leadership. Your perspective on how these practices can be applied to both the characters in the new Pope and to our own lives is truly inspiring. Thank you again for your thoughtful conversation. It's been a pleasure discussing the how spiritual practices can serve as a powerful tool for personal and societal transformation. May we all take these teachings to heart and apply them in our own lives for the benefit of ourselves and the world around us. Jagadev. Absolutely. Thank you once again, and we hope that those who have listened to this conversation find inspiration to begin their own journey of transformation. Jagadev. Jagadev, as we near the end of our discussion, one last topic comes to mind: the power of silence. In the new Pope, we see moments where silence plays a significant role in